How you doing, sir? It's good to be on.
Thank you. It's a dark time in America, needless to say, with what has happened and what has happened about what has happened. And we'll explain that more as we go. But let me ask you, they have now announced, pronounced, and renounced that these guys worked alone, that they just one day decided, oh, they would just blow something up. Do you believe that?
Well, no, I don't, for a number of reasons. One, this is not the first time that we have been attacked by Eastern European Muslims. You see, when America went to war in Iraq, Iraq became a focal point for the American consciousness. And then America went to war with Afghanistan. Well, Americans began to read a lot about Afghanistan. And then Benghazi took place. Americans began to read a lot about Libya. Now we have an attack, a terrorist attack taking place, and a number of the people involved so happen to be two Chechens, which are heavily connected with Saudi Arabia. Now, Chechnya is in Eastern Europe. It's part of the Caucasus. This, I believe, should lead Americans to investigate more on two of the most focal points in Islamic Jihad, the Caucasus and the Balkans. And although a number of the countries of these two regions are still Christians, a good amount of them are Muslim nonetheless. Albania, Dagestan, Chechnya, Bosnia, Albania. These nations are radically, fundamentally dominant Islamic nations, and we have an attack done by two Muslims from Chechnya. Now, this is not the first time we have had, like I said, an attack, terrorist attack done by Eastern European Muslims in the States. In 2007, there was a terrorist attack done in Salt Lake City in the Trolley State Mall by a young Bosnian Muslim by the name of Sulejman Talovic. Now, something very similar. Sulejman Talovic was from Bosnia, came to Utah, went to the Trolley State Mall with a shotgun and a pistol, opened fire, and within 6 minutes managed to hit 9 people with bullets. 5 of those people lost their lives. 4 of them were seriously injured. More people died in that attack than in the attack in Boston. Now, that attack in Salt Lake City was considered to be a mere crime. It was considered to be a mere spree killing. And the investigators all said, we don't know the motive, and the attack was simply brushed under the rug. Now, I did research on this attack when it happened in 2007, and I was telling people this was jihad. Why? Because Talovic had a vision in Bosnia before he came to America of a white horse with 2 beautiful eyes. It was all Islamic symbolism. Secondly, when he was killing his victims in the mall, he was screaming Allahu Akbar. And we have recording of it. We have a cell phone camera recording of the killing. Now, with that said, it was an act of jihad, but yet the government ignored it, and the immigration officials ignored it, because in my opinion, we should block people coming from these countries, Muslims coming from these countries, and the media ignored it by and large. Now, I think a very similar situation is taking place now. We have an attack. 2 of the people involved are from Chechnya. And again, like you said, most people, or much people in the media, except for a few in the right-wing circles, are calling this just a mere 2 problematic youths, nothing to do with Islam, and nothing to do with ideology. That is, in my opinion, what is killing us in this nation. It is the coexist mindset of this nation that is going to ruin us. And here's one act of irony. Here's the biggest joke of all, in my opinion, out of this whole event, which is taking place. When the 2 brothers were escaping from the authorities, when they were fleeing away from the authorities, they actually hijacked a car which had a coexist bumper sticker on it. Here's a guy with a coexist bumper sticker, thinks all religions can work together and live amongst themselves in peace, and he gets hijacked, his car gets hijacked by 2 Muslim terrorists. That is an act of irony, but it goes to tell us something. It tells us that what is killing us is tolerance. Terrorism is simply a symptom of this sickness called multiculturalism and cold tolerance. And as long as we do not heal ourselves, all we are going to be doing in the future is reacting to terrorist attacks, never taking the measures to prevent them.
Now, I have several more questions. Brent, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I am here, and I think what Ted just said is absolutely fascinating. I think we have a definite problem with humanism, the principle that says everything is okay from some perspective. There is no absolute right and no absolute wrong. There is no black and white. And this is what you get when you live in that kind of a paradigm. And I see nothing wrong with establishing absolutes and saying, you want to be an American? Accept our absolutes. If you don't, well, okay, go out and do whatever you want to do and leave us alone. I think Ted is absolutely right in this. It's the humanist approach that says everybody's okay that is coming back to bite us.
And everyone is equal, that all religions are equal, that all peoples are equal, and frankly, they are not. But let me ask you this, Ted. This older brother, and I don't remember his name or how to pronounce it, but the older brother lived in a nice area, drove a Mercedes, ate well, dressed well, had time for all kinds of leisure activities, but he had no job. Has anyone come up with how he was living?
Well, I think he was being supported by and large and generally by his wife, who was an American woman. And we know now, and here's another, I think, a very significant fact in our investigation is now we know that the older brother, his name, by the way, is Tamerlan, and his other brother, I believe his name is Dzhokhar. But anyway, Johar. But Tamerlan took a trip to Dagestan. The two brothers took a trip to Dagestan. And I think they were living there for about 6 months. Now, Dagestan is part of I believe, the Balkans or the Caucasus. It's an Eastern European Muslim country. And it is a hub for terrorism, huge hub for jihadists who want to fight against the Russians. Because there's many jihads going on right now. You got the jihad against the Americans. You have the jihad in North Africa. Jihad in the biggest jihad right now going on is probably in Syria. But then you also have the jihad against the Russians. And then you have the jihad against the Indians, done by the Pakistanis and other militants coming into that region from around the world. But anyway, Dagestan is one of the if you want to do a jihad, Dagestan is one of the places you want to go, and that is a focal point for the Russians in their fight against terrorism. Now, I wrote an article recently called "The Tsarnaev Brothers and the Coming Savage Empire of Islam," and it was published on PJ Media yesterday. If anybody watching can go look it up. But in this video, in this article, I posted a video that was filmed in Dagestan. And it is by far the most terrifying, most grotesque video I've ever seen in my life. It's not for the weak willed, I'll just tell you that right now. And it is a video that was filmed in Dagestan of Eastern European Muslims from different parts of the Caucasus and from the Balkans. They take over a dozen Russian soldiers and they chop them up one by one by one by one. And they all get it on film. It's a long video, but it's non-stop gore, non-stop cruelty, non-stop unbearable, deplorable violence done by these Eastern European Muslims. And they are laughing as they are doing it. And this is the type of savagery, this is the type of mindset that the Tsarnaev brothers harbor within themselves. And in my opinion, I don't know why we are allowing these people in our country. And the other gentleman said it correctly. It's humanism. It's this idea that all ideas are equal. And I believe in Christian exceptionalism. I believe that certain ideologies should not be allowed to thrive, and certain religions, Christianity, Judaism, should be allowed to thrive in this country. And we can sit here and we can pride ourselves in freedom of religion. We can pride ourselves in being tolerant. But you can go ahead and pride yourself all you want. It's not going to help you. It's only going to cause more death, more dead people to come about. As long as we don't do this, we're going to keep reacting to terrorism and never preventing it. It's going to happen until kingdom come, unless we don't accept, like I said, Christian exceptionalism.
Many people don't remember or don't want to know that the Chechens, not all, but the Chechens, in their fight with Russia, which wasn't about freedom, but really about Muslim extremism, kidnapped kids and killed them.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Well, yeah, there was a school in Russia that the Chechens took, and I think they killed around 400 people in some of the most grueling ways, most brutal ways. For example, many of the children died because they wouldn't allow these kids to go to the bathroom, and these kids were dying from inhaling their own fecal matter. Or a number of these children were also anally raped. by these terrorists. So these are sick people. In fact, the Chechens are the muscle of the jihad. They are part of the backbone in the current jihad in Syria right now. They are probably, I wouldn't say probably, I'm going to say they are the cruelest people in the Muslim world. And Americans, they love, we're only focusing on the countries that are getting media attention. So we're only focusing on Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan, but we're not focusing on Eastern European Islam. It is the worst strand. It is the most brutal, most evil strand, in my opinion. The Arabs use the Chechens to do their dirty work. The Jordanians use the Chechens to do their dirty work. And let's not forget, Al-Harbi, Abdullah Rahman Ali Al-Harbi, was the first person arrested after the explosions in Boston. Now, we have let him go thus far. We have not done any further investigation on him. We have not done any inquisition on this person whatsoever. But here's the facts. This man was close enough to the bombs that his skin was severely burned, but he was not close enough that the explosion killed him. And he was the government said, now we're going to allow him to go back to Saudi Arabia. As soon as he was arrested, you had the ambassador from Saudi Arabia come to the United States and set up a meeting with John Kerry. The meeting was supposed to be public, but then it was changed to being a private meeting, so thus they didn't allow any of the press to ask them questions or to film the conversation. And then here's what's really has not received the attention it deserves. While he was in the hospital, Al-Harbi was visited by Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama paid a personal visit to Al-Harbi in the hospital. So now we know this is a setup. We have the Saudi, who was, of course, definitely took part in this attack, being let go without any further investigation, despite the fact that an officer and a citizen tackled this man down for being suspicious. And we don't have, we have two Chechens who have been apprehended, but the Saudi has been let go, which means that America is making deals with the Saudis, but the Chechens are being arrested, and those people are being treated, the Chechen is being treated as a citizen. He's not being treated as a terrorist. And we have seen this in multiple cases. We saw this in the Fort Hood shooting, where the terrorist is not considered to be a terrorist. He's considered to be just a mere murderer, and the terrorist act is considered to be a workplace violence. And you had the attack in Salt Lake City in 2007 by Bosnian jihadists, Salzman Tolovic. That case was put under the rug, not considered to be a terrorist attack. And now we have this one, done by Eastern European Muslims. So, and America, I mean, if you watch the media, pretty much everything that comes out of people's mouths is either very, very unknown, obvious, coming from in-depth research, or it's very, very stupid and very mediocre. So this tells me that America has not done its research. Many of the elite researchers in America have not done their research. And if we continue down this road at this rate, expect to have more terrorist attacks, and also expect to have something worse than 9/11 occur in this country.
Chief?
Well, three quick points. I'm going to put this in my words, because I think most Americans, this is too complicated for them to really grasp a hold of. But the first thing is, what our guests have said, is that if we don't stand for something right and good, like Christianity, we're going to fall for what's left over, and fall hard and fast. The second thing is, our government is promoting this lone wolf theory because they don't want to address the real problem of Muslim Islamic terrorism. And so as long as they can blame it on a lone wolf, they don't have to do anything about the real issues at hand, or do anything against these Islamic countries or Islamic peoples, or whatever the case may be. The third thing is, if you want to get hijacked, get yourself a coexistence bumper sticker. If you don't, get a gun and a Gun Owners of America bumper sticker and stick it on your car.
Love it.
Amen.
Now, Michelle Bachmann, Congresswoman Bachmann, was on Sean Hannity today talking about the fact that she has gotten the research that our government at the highest levels has purged from the FBI, from our military, any discussion, thoughts, or information about radical Islam. It just doesn't exist as far as they're concerned. They've just taken it off the playbook so that we don't even look for issues that may tie these things together. And we're being told, and I think that many Americans have figured it out, many Americans have not figured it out. But anyone who believes these two guys acted alone is an idiot. We have the Obamas, and it's funny, when Bush did something with bin Laden's family that really had nothing to do with bin Laden, but the media went crazy saying, oh, you're doing this for the Saudis. But now that you've got Barack Obama, whose campaign was initially financed by the Saudis illegally, and his wife, Michelle, going to visit a guy who was already on the terror alert list. The guy was already listed as a terrorist. And now they're going to, I don't know if they actually have, let him go because the Saudis have said, do not drag our name in the dirt, even though, frankly, they finance, they brainstorm, and they arrange for many terrorist acts around the world, including this country. So we're in a situation where either the people, and here's my suggestion, folks, this is not Ted Shoebat, this is not Brent Johnson, it's not Chief Stephen Stan. The only good Muslim is one who you know well enough to know they're not a terrorist, and I don't know that you know them well enough. And if you don't know them well enough to know they're not a terrorist, assume they are one and act accordingly. There's no other way to deal with it. It's like if you come across a dog that you don't know, you assume the dog will bite. That doesn't mean the dog will, but you act accordingly. Am I off base here, Ted?
No, you're not off base at all. In fact, I hope that all Americans adopt this mindset. Because think about it, Islam, see, we always treat religions as personal relationships between man and his God. And it is a wrong assumption. Religions almost always are political. Christianity, Islam, Mormonism, Buddhism, Hinduism, all of these faiths believe in a crusade to make the religion supreme. I am a Christian, and I believe in crusading for Christianity. Islam wants to fight to make its religion dominant. The question is not whether a religion wants to make itself dominant. Every religion and ideology wants to make itself dominant. The question is, dominant for what? Islam wants to create a hegemony in which all people in the world have to follow the tenets of Muhammad, have to be a part of the Ummah. Christianity, on the other hand, is a religion which believes in preventing tyranny, preventing evil, preventing bloodshed from taking place. And if that means fighting against evil, then so be it. So we have to always differentiate between the purposes of religion. What is the aspiration of a religion? And the aspirations and the intentions of Islam are very, very dark. Now, Islam, but that being said, Islam therefore is a political movement. It's a political movement, no different, in my opinion, than Nazism. It's just as political as communism, just as political as Nietzscheism, just as political as Marxism or socialism. So we should never assume that somebody is Muslim. Oh, he just has a relationship between him and Allah. No, if somebody is Muslim, somebody is truly Muslim, that is, he really believes in fighting for the cause of Islam, whether that be by violence, physical violence, or whether that be by deception. And so there's two camps within Islam. You have the camp of muscle. Those are the guys doing all the dirty work. Then you have the brains. The brains are the ones that are giving the ideological underpinnings for violence, or they are giving the funding to support violence. It's a cooperative agreement. One cannot thrive without the other. You can't have fighters without money and ideology. You can't have ideology and money without fighters, because one is useless without the other. So they're both very dangerous. And right now Islam is trying to take us in both ways. They're trying to take us through violence, and primarily they're trying to take us through brains, trying to take us for now through deception. And as the Roman writer Prudentius once wrote, it does not matter whether you are conquered through deception or through arms. You are still conquered. So we have to be vigilant on both camps. We have to be vigilant against the camp that wants to deceive us, and we have to be vigilant against the camp that wants to kill us physically.
Brett?
Unfortunately, I did not hear a great deal of what was just said. The audio was cutting out, so I really can't comment on what he just said because I didn't really hear it. I apologize.
Well, I'm sorry. The comment was that the idea behind the Muslim faith is to utilize either muscle and or intellect and deceit, whatever they need to do. And the reality is, if you are conquered, it makes no difference through what strategy. Conquered is conquered, and the Muslim thought process, whether it's from Eastern Europe or from the Arabs or from the Indonesians, it all comes down to their goal is to be in charge and then to wreak havoc on any who do not agree with them. Do you understand and agree with that?
Okay, now I understand what you're saying. I can't completely agree with the generalization because, you know me, it's like, I have no question there are Muslims that do exactly what you said, and they should be dealt with. But I do not accept that every single person on the planet who is a Muslim is a terrorist by any means. I also do not accept the official story around Boston and any of these other so-called terrorist attacks, because we have seen continuously that the government will massage the story for political purposes. In this case, the obvious Saudi connection, which of course, we can't say anything bad about the Saudis no matter what. So the official story has to be disbelieved and at least questioned, and which means we're not in a position to make intelligent comments on the specifics of what happened in Boston. I will say, though, what I said earlier, that we have no, as a country, as a culture, we have no set value system. As Christians, we do. But as a culture, the U.S. does not. And it is because of that lack of a value system that we have opened the doors to these kinds of extremist terrorist activities. They wouldn't, hey, if we were all walking down the street like in the Old West with, holsters and guns showing and everything, I can almost guarantee you that the number of incidents that have occurred in the last 10 years would have been reduced to maybe not zero, but substantially reduced. We don't have a cultural value system that excludes this kind of behavior of which Ted is speaking. And that's the problem. We can sit there and deal with the situation every time it happens, but we won't prevent it until we establish a real cultural value system.
That means we have to get rid of the Democrats. All right, Chief?
I like that idea. Well, perhaps all Muslims are not terrorists, but all terrorists are Muslims. So what needs to be done is we've got to start getting rid of all this political correctness crap and say, we need to profile people that could be criminals. And since all the terrorists are Muslims, we need to start profiling that particular group of people and weed them out.
And this guy they knew about, allegedly, and they closed the investigation, and yet no one's saying to Big Sis, but then you're obviously an idiot if you close the investigation on someone who's been planning, is planning, and did plan for this. They didn't do this over the weekend. This was a plan that was carried out, right, Ted?
It was definitely a plan that was carried out, and I would agree with the other gentleman, his latter statement about the Saudis. America is making deals with the Saudis. That's why al-Harbi has not been brought to justice. Now, if you study who this al-Harbi guy is, he has around 6 members of his family who are official members of al-Qaeda. He has a number of other relatives who are in Gitmo prison right now. So the guy is definitely involved in terrorism. It's bad news. And I would agree with the other person. We don't have a unified ideology or a unified belief system that will unite us, because we have primarily watered down Christianity in the States. Now, what is the cause of terrorism? Of course, it's Islam, but why is Islam thriving in the United States? The reason why it's thriving, or the reason why it's being allowed to thrive, is because of a very, very weak church in the United States. The church has apparently forgotten what the purpose of Christianity is. The purpose of Christianity, or one of the major purposes that is to fight against evil. The Scripture, the Bible, from beginning to end, is a manual on fighting the forces of darkness. And we have forgotten this, almost entirely have forgotten this great intention and purpose of Christianity, this great these great teachings which God has given us in prevailing over the dark principalities on this earth. So because we have forgotten this, a lot of wicked and evil ideologies have been allowed to thrive in this country. Islam, leftism, homosexuality, all of these political movements, Mormonism, all of these movements have seeped themselves into the church and have crippled us. I mean, there's very few pastors that I know who have the courage or who have taken it upon themselves to preach against Islam or any of these false ideologies to their congregants, because they don't want to get sued, they don't want to get the media attention, they don't want to get a bad reputation, they're afraid people might think they're racist or they're intolerant. All of this fear of appearing intolerant, all of this fear, and this whole idea of marketing Christianity for a modern day mindset has crippled the church to the point where it's become impotent. You have Muslims running all over the place. They want to destroy us. You have homosexuals running all over the place. They want to destroy our culture, and the church hasn't done anything. The church has allowed them to walk about and thrive. And what does Peter say? Peter says that the devil lurks about like a roaring lion, looking for anybody to devour. Well, the devils are all over the place, and they want to annihilate us. They want to devour the church. They want to destroy our Christian civilization. And as long as we keep this modern way of looking at Christianity up, the church is going to remain static, and the forces of darkness are going to prevail.
Well, and we saw that in France, where they legalized homosexual marriage over the will of 75% of the French people. Although I do take exception to comparing Mormonism to homosexuality. I think the Mormon faith is not one with which I agree, but they're overwhelmingly good people with good ideas trying to do good things, where homosexuals are destroying themselves, no question about it. Ted, we are out of time. Give folks your website and how they can follow your great work.
You can go to tedshoebat.com or just shoebat.com, and the name of the book is called For God or For Tyranny. That is, For God or For Tyranny.
Shoebat is S-H-O-E-B-A-T, Shoebat.
That's right.
By the way, I heard your dad on Michael Savage. Congratulations. I'm sure that opened a lot of ears and a lot of eyes to the great work that you guys are doing, and keep it up, sir.
Absolutely, sir. You too. God